Show up last time. Like, damn it, we didn't have time to go, so you got to be here, Brian. Yeah. Good morning, boys and girls, friends and lovers, children of all ages. Welcome to the Greek Theater of downtown Denver, Colorado. Today, advocates, employees of the city and county of Denver, and some people who sometimes clean the trash are gathering.
Not here, and we'll start to keep track of our time. I have to be done by 10 o'clock, so I want to make sure we move right along. We've got about 60 minutes, 58 by now. I'm Steve Charbonneau. I work for a nonprofit organization, and I'm facilitating our meeting today. I want to do it just a little bit differently. I want to try to make sure that we're getting both comments and we're getting questions from those who are experiencing homelessness. And sometimes we've done a better job of that than others, and so we're going to try something a little bit different. I've got Sarah, who's way back in the shade in the corner. She's taking notes, so we'll have a summary of what we're doing today. And I've got Marta, who's working off of the flip chart. So the way we're going to work this is, once we get started in about a minute or two, I am going to just open it up for those who are experiencing homelessness. I'd like to just limit it to that right now. And I would like to give you the opportunity to either make some comments or to ask some questions. Sarah will be catching the question or the comments, and Marta will be putting the questions up on the board. And as we've collected 2 or 3 questions, then we'll hand it back to whoever the appropriate person is at the city level, and we'll try to get you some answers to those questions. So that's kind of how we're going to run today. Because the time is as short as it is, I am going to manage this mic, and I'm going to work around through the group. So if you've got comments, if you've got questions, if you get your hand up, that would be great, and I will get to you. I will hang on to the mic. So if I'm coming to you, I'm going to hold it for you, but I'm going to hang on to that. That's just something I'm going to do for everybody, and we'll work it that way. Those of you who are out sort of on the fringes, I'd like to invite you in. You still got some chairs here. That would be great. Any questions of me before we just jump in and get going? Okay, I'm ready to open it up. Comments, questions from those who are experiencing homelessness. Wave your hand, I'll be right there. Okay, if you want to stand up, that would be great.
I'm going to say homelessness comments. Well, we had a lot of moving and problems and a lot of losing our stuff. And that's not true. We lost a lot of stuff due to these having to less. And I don't respect the fact that we had to sit out and do stuff as to people who had homes, you know, and they had their stuff down. They don't do their stuff, but we have to. So that's the comment that I have. And I am a so what do you guys think you would be able to do to help out?
So let's stay with the housing component just a little bit. Are there other comments around the housing, the camping, the cleanups that are scheduled, other comments about that? We'll stick with that just a little bit. Let me go here, and then let me go to this gentleman.
Hi, I'm with Denver Homeless Out Loud, and right now there's a sweep happening, and being at this meeting is taking at the exact same time. Right now I'm getting texts of people being harassed, and we've been involved in by police. Volunteers are desperately trying to move people. We are actually helping the city. We're helping our community members, and still we have an antagonistic relationship with the city. I'd like to know the city is going to stop being inclusive to all of us.
Okay, thank you. So let me make sure that you've got a couple of questions, I think, people in homes, right? How to get them there quicker and faster. I think a couple of other questions are just around the whole issue of sanitation and personal needs, bathrooms, washing hands, clean up, trash, that kind of thing, right? Okay, so we'll come back to those. Give me a couple of minutes. Let me, anybody else got their hand up?
Hi, my name's Sharon, and I just want to know about the city, especially with the zoo, because like yesterday, over at our camp, there was a guy that had a mental issue, and he was going a little crazy. They had us. They stood across the street, thinking us, just watching. And then after it was done, thankfully we got him to calm down. But then after it was done, they told us it was our job. I'm not getting paid for that. They are. So why do they even come around and have a job if they're not good? Not do nothing. And I want to know about the trash situation too, because they tell us to leave it in one spot. We do what they say to do, but then they don't come and get it, and then they put us down for looking like pigs. And it's not us, it's them.
Another question, or I don't want to cut you short. So,
And I think that the city needs to do more for, like at camps and stuff, people have issues while we're out there. You know, it's just not because we're lazy or anything else. There's certain problems. And just not going into a program, I think people should come out and be able to talk to you about their problems out there. And that would help out the people. You know, people's got situations, we deal with it every day with the cops and the neighbors, and they're the ones that are allowed to come by my camp alone. They come by every day yelling at us, they start throwing trash at us, and we get the cops, not them, and they're told it's okay, and it's not.
okay, so I'm going to take 3 questions away from is how do we manage trash better? And that's come up a couple of times. Second is what happens if you've got a health issue and you really need some support? You need somebody there that can manage that, whether that's mental health or whether that's some other kind of health issue. And then I think the third one you talked about was how do we just get resources into the camps so that we're able to help people that need help? Did I get that?
The cops they said they don't do mental issues, so that's why they don't deal with the people out there. You know, if that's the case, then they need to. Or other people that are, can't. Because that's not right for a cop just to stand there. That guy could have had a gun, he could have had a knife, and went off on us. And they didn't do nothing. So who is going to get blamed for it if one of us got hurt or killed? That guy or the cops? I think it was the cops.
So safety issues in the camp are also, right? Okay. Other comments? Other hand up? Anna, I'll get back to you in a minute. I want to make sure that I'm getting everybody else here. Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm kind of wondering when the whole statement of homeless being a look and me trying to use the restroom becomes an issue. Why is water getting denied for me being an issue? Why is the whole stigmatism? I can't even be myself. I can't even talk about certain things because I'm embarrassed to walk down 16th Street Mall like I'm nothing because I can't just be myself.
That's okay. I appreciate that. What do we do about the stigma? I understand that. I'm going to then I'm going to go back to the city to see what they do.
Anna again from Depot. This morning, Officers Harris, Grove, and Department of Transportation and Infrastructure employee Ralph were advising camp residents that were being swept to go to the Arkins camp because it will be safe until August. I'm assuming because of the All-Star game. So I would like to know what plans the city has for providing trash pickup, porta potties, and hand washing stations to the Arkins camp.
Okay. If you can hang on just a minute, I think we've got probably a number of questions, and those are I can't quite read those. Tell me if I missed one, Marla. Who can help me from the city when it comes to the whole trash issue? How do we get that picked up? The hand washing piece, sort of those sanitation issues. Those are ones that seem to come up pretty quick. So who can help me with that?
Jason Gallardo with the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. Thank you for all your questions. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing us your concerns. Two things. One, we are working on scheduling better routine trash pickups for camps, especially you mentioned just recently where we're asking them to move. We do also have a porta potty that we're working on trying to figure out the best way to use this. It's a mobile restroom that we have on 16th Street Mall. We just recently put in permanent restrooms there, so now it's trying to figure out the best use for this. So as soon as we have a plan for that, we hope to be able to integrate it in our plans to take care of camps and better assist.
Let me just follow up. Time frame on that? Any idea?
I think the sooner, I mean, we're looking to drop it sooner than later. That's the plan. We're trying to get it done.
So let me stay with trash for just a minute. That's that particular camp. Plans for trash in other places, or plans for trash pickup?
But if I'm talking about trash for all, we're trying to figure out that, I mean, our infrastructure when it comes to the actual employees for trash pickup is designated by code as well. We're about 20 trash pickup employees, and we're trying to figure out that up and get it started. As soon as we get that back up, I hope to get better service to these.
Thanks. I'm sure there'll be some follow-up questions. Let me come back to to restrooms for just a minute. You mentioned the mobile restroom. Who from the city can help me speak to the whole restroom issue? I know that's always a challenge. That's always an issue. Restroom issue.
The mobile restroom.
I'm looking.
So I'm Scott Gilmore. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of Denver Parks and Recreation. So some of the things that we've been trying really hard to do is in parks, we do have to make Nichols restroom open. We staff it. Actually, we work with the Denver Day Works program to make sure that we have staffing to keep it open and keep it clean. We are also looking at some additional options to try to get additional restroom. On Tuesdays and Thursdays too, so if anyone hasn't noticed, I think it's Monday and Thursdays, we have started a program with the Showers for All program. It's a trailer that they actually pull out into the park. It's right here. It has 2 full service restrooms that have showers. And so individuals can come out and take showers on Mondays and Thursdays. And then there's also laundry areas where people can get laundry done. So they're averaging approximately 45 to 50 people taking showers on Monday and Thursdays. And we'll continue that month to month. We're working with the Civic Center Conservancy to provide that service. So if you didn't know, it is here on Mondays and Thursdays. So we're doing what we can. We know that there are some challenges with restroom services. So we're trying to add that temporary, at least for now.
So just before you scoot off, I know there'll be some questions about that. But the restrooms are always, it seems like, in short supply. So as we look out over the next couple of months, plans to add additional ones, increase them, locations?
So we do also have the restroom at Skyline Park, which we staff. We have one right off the 16th Mall in Champa that we are staffing. That one's open actually longer than the ones in parks, but those hours are 6 a.m. till 10 o'clock. The ones in Skyline Park go from about 2 to 6. They are all staffed. The challenge with those is they have to be staffed, or we run into issues with things getting put in the toilets and other things messing up the septic systems, and then we actually end up having to close them for extended periods. So they have to be staffed at this point. We are also building a restroom as we speak in Sunny Lawson Park, which will also be staffed. That should be up and going probably September or October. We are working with the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure on that one. We are also trying to identify some additional locations around the city. So that's kind of where we're at.
Great. If you want to stay right there, because I am guessing there are questions about restrooms. There's always questions about restrooms. Yes, you're the one I promised to get to next. So let me say, are these questions about restrooms?
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'd like to actually highlight this a little more specifically because the city put a permanent bathroom, one block from the Parks bathroom that has been there since before the urban camping ban came into existence. I don't think that's a very genuine action to put on 16th Street Mall bathrooms a block apart that have to be staffed consistently, very accessible. There's bathrooms here that are staffed, which is weird, but between these arrangements, knowing that this is a lawsuit, it's part of a lawsuit, we have places where we know people are at. We have community organizations that have been providing bathrooms directly at the places where people live. We've done that. We've helped pay for them. It's not that hard. So today, why can't the city say, we're telling you to go to this encampment. Today, we're going to ensure that either the trailer or private contracted, which we have plenty of contracts we can work with, toilets will be there. And this is a human sanitation need that we need to meet, so that wherever we move people to, until we move them into permanent houses with toilets, we're providing that service for the sanitation of all. Why isn't that happening?
I might come back to you on how do we get that one set up in the camp right away today.
No, absolutely, and I think that's something that I'm taking back from here today, and I'm going to be working with Anna as well to make sure that we have something set up sooner than later. And that's what the mobile restrooms, actually putting the stationary one on 16th Street, freed up our mobile one to be able to move it into situations like this. So,
I think there were some questions over in here when we were talking about restrooms. Yes.
Yeah, so actually, Brian said what I was going to say regarding the mobile restroom. If you're looking for a location for that, since just been stated that people have been told to go to Ark and Support, then why not put that bathroom at that encampment? However, that's one of maybe 20-ish encampments in Denver right now. So again, we really need to talk about specifics here. When I wake up in the morning, I don't walk half a mile to go to the bathroom. I walk down the hallway. So that's the distance that everybody should have to a bathroom. It's just, just in close proximity. So if there's roughly 20 encampments in Denver right now, then let's talk about how we fund and clean porta potties at each one of these encampments. We as Denver Homeless Out Loud did that for a number of encampments for a time. We learned strengths and weaknesses. We learned, lessons learned that can be improved on. We would love to share that with the city, and so that everybody doesn't have to walk half a mile, 2 miles or more to use the bathroom. That's just regarding bathrooms.
Stone cold, no reaction.
On trash, but I'll save
Gotta
that.
Let's stay with bathrooms for just a minute. And what about the getting porta potties in all those places and figuring that out?
So my main focus is parks. So we do have portalets around the city in parks where we're staffing those at places like Benedict Fountain and other places that we know we have a lot of challenges. Those portalets are cleaned either once or twice a day. And so we are doing what we can, and if we get calls on different other locations, we can try to add them. The restrooms on the mall and Skyline are farther apart than a block. They are a little farther distance, and that is just like you were saying. We're trying to add restrooms around the city. That was a good location, just for the fact that there was sewer and other utilities in the street that we could connect to, and it actually fit on the street well. Those are the things that we have to take to when we design a restroom, a permanent restroom in the city. And so some of the other things.
The hard question I think that you posed is how do we manage porta potties or restrooms or trash at the camps? I think that is specific.
So from the park standpoint, we also assist in some of the other things. We don't put portalets. We don't put portalets at the other encampments. We do as a parks department. We do support the SOS sites, and we are supporting those SOS sites with portalets and the hand washing stations and the fencing there. So I'm speaking about parks right now. So.
Okay, I'm going to get around to some questions here. Some folks who haven't had a chance to talk, I'll be back over there in a moment.
Hi, just regarding you supporting the SOS sites. I mean, there was 2 SOS sites in Cat Hill. Those 2 SOS sites are now moving 5 miles away and 3.5 miles away from the center of services. So like you servicing those SOS sites is, again, sort of a disingenuous offer. I mean, there was a report that came out in Denver, right? There was 8 public bathrooms in the city. 2 of them were closed and only 1 of them was open 24 hours a day. So I understand you need to staff things, and you need someone to be there from 10 to 6, but you have to realize you have between 1,000 and 1,500 people on the street every night. And there's 1 bathroom in the city that is very far away from the encampments that they can use in the middle of the night. Otherwise, they will have to go on the street. So these ideas of like the stress of putting together a permanent bathroom, the question is about temporary bathrooms that will move with the same transients as we keep moving every camp, every week.
Okay, and I've got a couple more. Do you want to answer that, or do you want to, let me get a couple more questions. I got from you, I've got a couple folks I haven't heard from back over here.
Maybe Evan could give us an answer. He works for the mayor, because having Donnie stand up doesn't do us any good. It's a waste of our time right now. So let's get an answer from somebody that can provide the 20 bathrooms.
Okay, just a minute, I'm going over to this gentleman.
They want to make it like.
Yeah, no, it's good. We're just asking for the.
Sorry, cut you with your
mayor's-
mouth full.
We do have bathrooms. If you're looking at it, the state actually funds the Parks Department, they need to open up their business bathrooms to everybody in the city. Every single park, like Denver Mountain Park, up there has a bathroom, a porta potty. If they're the Parks Department, we want equal application of funding, and we need the same exact treatment.
Okay, bathrooms is the big deal, and trash is a big deal. I know we put you on the spot, Scott. Anybody else from the city want to jump in and provide answers?
Come on, Evan. Let's hear from you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, everybody, for being here and sharing your stories. My name is Kevin Dyer. I'm with the mayor's office. Obviously, the issue of porta potties at campus is something that we have talked about a lot as a city. It is not something that we do as a matter of policy right now. Happy to take feedback back and continue to talk about it.
Wait, you've already had it. You've stopped them from coming.
Come over to there.
Sorry. So I want to rebut that because the city actively stopped the porta potties from being out in the city, telling the companies that they had to take them away. So that's not a straight answer. So let's get a real answer from you, please.
That was the answer.
Okay, I'm the one that's collecting comments, and
I'm sorry, Steve. We
I'm just looking, just a second. Just a second. I understand.
Here's the thing. The real question is, when are we gonna have to stop moving our stuff and our tents? I am tired of moving my stuff and losing everything that I got. I'm tired of it. That is the real question, is to when are we gonna have to stop moving our stuff and losing everything that we have? Because you have a home to go to, right? Okay, then you don't lose your stuff, do you? You don't need to throw it in the trash? That's the real question, is when are we gonna have to stop moving? Because I'm tired of moving my stuff, and I'm tired of having to get my stuff thrown in the trash. That's it.
Okay.
So, think about it. When you put cases around, like animals, around them, test that, then we got people, get a job, people have jobs. I'm a vet, bro, but I'm homeless. So, think about it, a lot of people don't want to be on the street. Circumstances can get you put there in no time. Anything can happen. So, and then, like I say, we look at each other like it's a disease. We should help each other up, not knock each other down.
Okay, so to the bigger question, how do we get people into permanent housing quicker? Is there an answer to that? Is there a way to look at that? Do we have somebody from the city that can give some guidance, some direction on that?
Hi, my name is Britta Fisher. I'm the Chief Housing Officer for the City of Denver. So when it comes to housing, I'm glad to talk about that. We right now have about 1,600 units of affordable housing under construction here in the City of Denver at 22 sites. We recently made funding priorities and commitments to 250 units of supportive housing here in the City of Denver. That means these are units that are for people with incomes of less than $22,000. And so those types of product are helpful. I understand they take a long time. That's why we've also announced things like motel and hotel acquisitions. It's ready infrastructure. We've had more than 1,000 people staying in hotels and motels, and we want to continue that, but without, hopefully, the FEMA rules that have restricted who can access those. So we have more infrastructure on the way, and we're working with many partners to get that done, but we have some steps here with the recovery funds and getting those out the door. So I think there's some really great things on the horizon, but I know that doesn't solve today. We do have, again, shelters that are 24/7 where you can secure your belongings, as well as these hotel rooms where you can get services as well.
So I know you're struggling with inventory and all of that, but is there anything today that you could tell people, here's an avenue to go, here's a place to try to get into a hotel or whatever you can get into?
Yeah, I highly recommend signing up with the One Home system. It is an intake that collects your personal information and puts you into a queue for housing. Why I recommend that right now is that there are new emergency housing vouchers. These are actual vouchers for housing that are being deployed through the Denver Housing Authority. They've got 200 that they are about to receive and get out the door right away. So I know there's a lot of people looking for that resource, but if you want to get that resource, you need to be in the One Home system. You can go to the St. Francis Center and do an intake there, as well as
Somebody
many
find the
other
One
locations.
Home website
Okay.
and post it.
Good morning, my name is LaTanya Gore-Weidman, and I'm from CCH, and I work with families who are experiencing homelessness or at risk of being homeless, and there seems to be a gap in regards to services and resources and housing for pregnant moms. As we're continuing to navigate the resources that are available, it seems like they have to be at least in the last couple of months of their pregnancy, or they have to have had the baby. So I would like to hear from someone from the city in regards to specific resources for pregnant moms who are living on the street.
Okay, who does that question go to?
Hi, thanks for your question. My name is Angie Nelson. I'm with the Department of Housing Stability. With the Department of Housing Stability, our programs are done in partnership with our nonprofit partners. And last year, we put out a notice of funding availability and had partner programs apply for any number of services that we needed to put into the community. At that time, we had multiple programs serving families. I don't think we had any applications specific to this population, but there are a number of programs that do serve pregnant and parenting individuals experiencing homelessness. And so I think, one, we can connect and I can get your email and we can send you that resource list that places I know of that do that. But secondly, just thank you for acknowledging the gap there, and it's something we can take back and consider how can we better partner in the community to make sure that that gap is met.
Okay. Too close to that speaker, I think. Let me come here and then I'll work my way around and get to you next.
So I just want to say I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner in the community, and I work with a lot of people who are out on the streets. And I think that one of the things we're not considering with programs like that single point of entry is that we are asking people to go to shelters for that, and people are often locked in. People who have trauma histories, they're with their families out on the streets, and if we ask them to leave those families, those places of safety, I think that that's a really big ask, and I think that it's really difficult for people to make that choice.
So let me ask specifically, are you saying about the one point of entry being at, for instance, St. Francis, that it needs to be someplace other than a shelter? Or are you talking about just referring people to shelters?
People have to stay in the shelter in order to get the service, from what I'm understanding.
Okay, let's try to get that figured out. Sorry, let me get an answer and then
Yeah, at
actually, our outreach workers can also do that type of intake and get people connected to one home. So we do have people meeting with people on the street to get them into one home. So Chris, do you want to help with that?
Yeah, the agencies that build out our street outreach team are the St. Francis Center, so not only for the day center, but they have a team of folks who are out at the concrete level working with people experiencing homelessness. For youth, urban peak. Youth here means if it's before your 25th birthday. It doesn't necessarily mean minor, right? Finally, Colorado Coalition for the Homeless is actually the ones who lead the Denver Street Outreach Collaborative team and also support a team of outreach workers. I'd also mention Denver Public Library's social work team. We can get them acquainted to do those intakes as well.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Leila, and I was with the SOS tents, and it was ran by St. Francis. The first one I went to was on 16th and Pearl, and I'm with my fiance is a black man. The first hour we were there, they were yelling at him because he was in my tent saying he was alone. And then so, it was the first time he had stability in 10 months. And after that, because we're an interracial couple, we weren't treated nicely, really. And just last week, one of the staff members attacked my husband and started a fight with him, and we got kicked out for it. So they put us back on the streets, a safe spot. So what are we supposed to do? This is supposed to be our transition. He had an interview for a job that he lost because he has no housing net. So what do we do?
That's a great question. I don't know who to.
Can I iterate on that a little bit?
Family homestead is a nonprofit. Houses locally, there's a 3 months waiting list, minimum deposit for the kids, great. If you don't, you will get out with you in 2 years.
Okay, thank you. Chris, you wanted to answer this lady's question.
Yeah, thank you. Anytime that somebody experiencing homelessness, resident or staff, if there's an assault, that's a crime. And so we would recommend that escalate to us. If the staff doesn't feel safe to escalate that to you, certainly reach out to host, and we would acknowledge that there's a suspected crime that's occurred and get that responded to appropriately. We value inclusivity and diversity within all our programming. We codify that in our contracts too. So there's other ways that we would, upon an investigation or upon a visit with that program, want to know about that and respond to that.
So I would say, talk to Chris when you get a chance to do that. I want to look to see if there's any folks who are experiencing homelessness. Let me see if you have comments, questions, anything, and then I'll come back there. You have a housekeeping?
Make sure that those who are unhoused, that their voices are being centered, because there are providers here who are giving their opinions about programs and things, and I just want to make sure that this meeting is for the unhoused to speak. There are lots of other meetings for everyone else to speak, but this meeting is for our community to speak.
Right, so I'm trying to get around everybody that gets their hand up, so how about I start right here and, okay.
My name is Paul. This store is grown. What about these kids? Let's talk American about kids. You know, we got kids out there on drugs. There's nobody helping. I did 19 years and I come out to this. Come on, man. Y'all look down on us. We can't walk around. I look like I'm homeless. Because I choose to use the resources that God do give us. But we got kids out there. We got professional teams around here. I'm from Illinois, but don't nobody come out and talk to these kids. That'll raise them up. Everybody want to put themselves first, but they want to put us last. But what about the kids? I thought America's about the kids.
So your question is, what are we doing to address the kid issue? Yeah?
Team, you got professional athletes out here. All they got to do is show their face, don't cost nothing.
I might get a longer answer for you, but when it comes to dealing with kids, who does this gentleman need to talk to? That's what he asked. He said, who can I talk to about dealing with kids? So that lady there, and we'll look for an answer in a minute. While I'm over here, I'm going to keep collecting comments or questions.
Well, my name is Mr. Lewis. I've been out there for like 18 months because I got released from penitentiary. And there's more people that's in housing, that live in houses, I mean, do more help than the city. They give out their heart, they be there constantly. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I got frostbite. They had to cut my toes off. I got neuropathy now. My whole arm is destroyed. Just to get some housing. You know what I'm saying? There's people out here need help. You know, they be trying, but they ain't taking time to listen to me. You know what I'm saying? And they steady moving, saying, move here, move there. You keep moving them, how you gonna find them? You know what I'm saying? It's not right for him to say he was out here running around homeless out of town. So it's wrong for both sides, but we need to come together. Some way, somehow. If we communicate, it'd be better for everybody. God is good though. Because I love all the people that help me and they help the other people that's out here. I wouldn't have made it this hard. So, when that like that, we got to keep praying. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate that, and I think there's a bunch of people here trying to do that, but we can certainly do better. Certainly get that. Yeah. Did you have your hand up, ma'am?
I would need to give an opportunity to anything in the house first to speak. But I'm just wanting to say some words to advocate for unhoused. So anybody else?
Okay, let me check. I'm looking for specifically folks that are unhoused.
Okay, first of all, you keep on saying unhoused. We gotta remember we are citizens of the United States first. We have rights here. And to tell you the truth, they don't have any problem finding space. I say they don't have a problem finding space for cars. Cars have precedence against over the people of the United States. These people have a plan already. Their plan is to make it as painful on us as possible until we leave the city. That's their plan. Right now, there's a car right across the street. Everybody's looking for their hands going, where do we find space? And, I am appalled that there is a library in the United States of America with a fence around it.
Thank you. Let me look back here. You guys are sort of up in the bleachers. Anybody that is...
Gentleman back over here.
Oh, okay.
Also, one of those people sometimes we take too long for like communities, specifically single men, to get a house, like years, like 4 or 5 years. What do we, answer we can get about that? We take too long to get a house.
So you're saying where do single men go for housing? Where do they get that? Okay.
I want to add a little more.
Okay.
818 East 20th Avenue, releasing property is called BP Management. They work with emergency, transitional, and displaced housing. But all of them, even different housing. I was an employee, supervisor, 3 years of this property, and they're actually accepting applications now. 16 portfolios, 361 units, and all been remodeled most recently. The state regulations like HUD housing regulations, they're really immaculate. For seniors, you got your 1559 or 1599 William Tell, the high rise, Cat Hill, Denver Northeast, Nuevo Americana. We have a lot of properties located all over the city. And if you just, they're located at 818 East 20th Avenue. That's going to be the trees department, and you have the Capitol properties. So you have your switch, whether you want to stay at Capitol Hill, or you're going to be located all over the city. And they also work with other housing authorities and transitional housing to try to deal with the overflow.
So I'm going to tell folks, you gave us a lot of information. I'm going to tell folks that they need to look for the guy in the bright green shirt. Okay? Okay? Marta, any questions that we're missing that we need to get answered? Any questions that those who are experiencing homelessness, the unhoused, any questions? The question about where to single man. Okay, I'm going to come back. I don't know, Marta, if you're not Marta, Brenda, sorry, got too many names in my head right now, I'm sorry. Don't know if you're the one to answer, but where do single men go? And then I'll be back to you.
I would recommend everyone get assessed for that one home point of entry to get connected with the resources. Overall, one of the things I'll say is that the voucher program federally, there's about one voucher for every 4 people that qualify. And so it's hard, right? There's lottery systems and so forth for even public housing. And so I know that you are all advocating. I would include our federal government in that. There's an infrastructure bill right now that would add a lot more vouchers and a lot more housing. There's also the Biden administration working towards universal vouchers where everyone who's eligible would get a voucher. That kind of thing could be game-changing and revert from this kind of game show odds that we have right now.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. Let me get back to you, I promise I'll get back to you. Yeah. Okay, 2 questions here. How do we get support for mental health? I think you raised that. And then what do we do for safety issues? So I'm gonna ask the city to help us with that answer, but I'm gonna get over to this lady first, and then we'll come back.
I want to know, I just want to name that right now there's a dramatic policing going on right now. We're hearing about the Lyle sediment and the traumatic displacement in the city, and there's one happening right now. It's displacing hundreds of people, the largest one in 7 months. So let's just name that this is the space that the city brought us to. The time is that. And let's also name that we're suggesting shelters. In December 2020, the 48th Street shelter had a COVID positivity rate of 32%. The state average on that day was 6.29%. So when we're up here and people are suggesting shelters, there's a variant, and people are not going to want to go to shelters because they're afraid for their lives. And you're asking them to risk their lives to get housing, and that's ridiculous. Not only that, but we're hearing people, on the streets who are being assaulted by housed people. Orange lining is the new red lining in Denver. And I want to know what we're going to do about the use of public space. Who is allowed to police public space in this city? Because churches are carding people to get in. Jesus was homeless. I don't know if anyone remembers that. But Jesus was homeless, and we're carding people to get into churches? What is wrong with this? We have a major issue.
Revelation, the devil.
So your question, what are we doing to manage public spaces? Was that fair? Huh?
What is the point of a zoning? What's the point of a zoning then that house people can violate, right? You can put up fences that are against the code, and then it can be used against the code, and it's used against unhoused. What is the point of the code? I want to know.
Okay. Rather than maybe what is the point of the code, let's talk about public space. I still got a couple of unhoused people, so let me get to them, okay?
Denver student. And the barbecue, signed up to another place. The virus hits. 2 months later, they connect these streets. Taking out things like Haiti outfits also. They won't give my money 3 months. What's going on?
That probably brings us back to the whole mental health question that we've got. Yeah.
Hello. My name is Rodney Holbrook. I work with the Denver Voice. We're peers looking for homes. Okay. I have researched in this paper for homes people can try to get on their feet, back on their feet. I went to a program in Fort Myers where, I was able to obtain a house. And it was tough. I was out here for 28 plus years. Okay? I fought through that. But my question is, I'm a veteran. I go by the VA, and they're tearing down a building that can house 2,000 homeless folks. Why are you tearing that building down and not housing these people? Somebody got to answer the question. It is a perfect working facility, okay? It's a perfectly working facility. You tear it down, put up condos. My name is Mike Rock.
I was, like I said, out there for 20 years plus. I finally got housed to 4 times. You know, you have to fight. Don't give up. You have to fight. Find a way. I have a lifetime housing doctor. Now, the Durkin doctor, has anybody mentioned that? No. Ask somebody about the Durkin doctor. I can never give it. No more. I will never. Colorado homeless helped me to get to the doctor, to obtain the doctor. Okay? I have kids now. I was out there. But you have to fight. They're going to tell you no. I thought my first name was no for many years. I was like, no, my name is not right. My name is no. Because you always tell me, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. Hey, you have to keep on fighting. There are resources out here for you. And I'm going to tell you, but they're out there. And you must keep fighting and keep searching.
So in the same way that I pointed people to the guy in the green shirt, I'm going to say if some of you want to talk to Rodney, I'll talk to Rodney, right? I know, we're not going to call you no. We're just going to call you Rodney. Okay? You've had your hand up several times, ma'am, so sorry about that.
About the police department, what we could do, and the businesses, and the people that are going by, and assaulting us and yelling at us. I mean, there should be some kind of law or something we can do. I think that it's kind of scary. Cars go by, we have no barriers by the street. And people have to come and run us over. So I think we need something done for, them liable for not protecting us.
So who can help me with the whole safety issue? You're talking about folks accosting you during the day, you're talking about people threatening you at night, you're talking about being very close to fast-moving traffic. Who can help us here?
Public safety, so I'll speak to this, but public safety is here to support everyone, including our neighbors experiencing homelessness. So they calling 311, calling 911, if it's a non-emergency, if it's an emergency, going to the police station themselves to make reports. Those are important things to do.
So just
I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm telling you those are the resources that we have right now.
Okay. I know you've had your hand up for a long time.
I have a couple of comments. One is from Freda regarding her comment just now, that those are not any viable ways for people to access those resources. And so if people don't have access, then those resources just aren't available. And the city is the one who has the responsibility of providing access to folks, not the other way around. The burden should not be on the person who is suffering, who needs help, and who does not have the ability to provide that for themselves. I would also like to piggyback on what Tess said about who polices public space. So the urban camping ban is an ordinance violation. The orange fencing is also an ordinance violation. They are equal in the law, but one is being enforced and one is not being enforced. You need a permit in order to do the orange fencing, but you cannot get a permit for someone else's property. However, they did that at the Denver Homeless Out Loud building, where Armani from 2 doors down, who also pulled out a gun in our encampment but was not arrested by the police, he put lanterns outside of our office without a permit, without our permission, called DPD. DPD told him to remove them, and they are still there a week later because who is the enforcement arm? Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, who is conveniently also the one who is displacing people. So one hand is feeding the other. Where is the accountability?
So let's go to the public spacing. Who can help me out with the public spacing piece? And after that question, I promise we'll get back to the resource for mental health. I know that was a question that came up from this lady a long time ago. So public space, how do we manage public space? That's a question come up several times. Anybody want to jump in and help with that one?
Where's Dottie here from Dottie? Where's Dottie? Where's the zoning office?
I don't see anybody jumping up right away. The question is, how are we managing the public space? How are we enforcing the public space? If I don't have an answer right now, I can certainly put that on the list and we can get back to it. But I'm not one that can answer that question for you. Brittany, you're going to just help us out with all of it.
There's a neighborhood services team out of CPD LAPD that enforces that type of thing with the permits that you were speaking about or the orange fencing. So again,
Yeah, and we complained to them, and then we were told.
Wait, I can't have everybody talk at the same time, just a second here. Anything else you want to say, or was that it?
that's the spot to go. So keep going.
Okay. Let me go to the mental health question that we had. Where do we get resources for that? Where do we get some additional help? Because I know there's several folks who have asked that question. You asked it in the context of the guy in the camp. What else? Who can help me out with that? Chris?
I will say there's a crisis for medical that involves mental health. Oftentimes, that could potentially be unsafe. It could also be that those folks are within your network and you're willing to care for them. So thanks for stepping into that space. What the city is trying to do is ensure that issues of behavior, right? Issues where we're seeing behaviors that make people uncomfortable but aren't necessarily an issue of safety or threat to person and property are going to be responded to differently. So the way that we started structuring that, and one thing to remember is this is always a responsive thing. We have proactive outreach teams like the Denver Street Outreach Collaborative that are out there trying to meet people on the front end. But when there's an episode, we also have a response that we've developed through the STAR program with Mental Health Center of Denver. That program is paired to the emergency response call. So if you're calling in a situation where somebody's having an episode or having a crisis within the campus, you can still call into the city's emergency response system and request that STAR response feed embedded within that. So that is not a police forward response. Those are licensed clinical social workers. Those are people who are responsive to de-escalation, behavioral health needs, and are responsive to longer term follow-up. So it's not like they show up, they're like, let's get you out of the crisis, so then we're hands-on. They're 100% follow through after the point of crisis to make sure that people aren't left behind. They have resources available to them to facilitate that, including the newly opened Solutions Center on the Denver Human Services campus over off of 12th and Federal, which provides 3-day stabilization beds, but not only 3 days, you can also move into a program that supports you for about 3 months to transition out of homelessness while receiving care for behavioral health. The STAR program is going to expand that. There's going to be more vans and more people to facilitate those responses, so we're moving away from the criminal policing response and towards a responsive care.
You heard that here first, folks. STAR is expanding.
Just a second, let me get over to you.
It's okay then that they have a weapon and you don't know if they do or not, or they can just go crazy on it, and it's okay for the cops not to do anything, right?
Let me get in here.
No, what I'd say is they're going to assess. Like I said, if it's an issue of safety to life or property, it's not going to be handled by the LCSW. If there's a weapon involved and it's an unsafe situation, regardless of whether it involves behavioral health, there's still going to be that police response ability.
Okay, I have 5 minutes. I want to give a priority to those who are currently experiencing homelessness. And so let me give a priority to that. Comments or questions?
All right, one thing is, when you call out for someone to commit suicide, he's thrown on the ground and beaten up, that's when it help home. I think it helped the mental health, you know what I mean? Get them to move forward. You know, PTSD, so when you put your hands on, you know, people have been molested and gone through different things in their life that, you know, certain things that make them tick. It don't mean they're an animal, it means they need help. It's a sickness. But we keep saying they're criminal, no, it's not criminal, it's a sickness. So when treated as a criminal act, then, yes, you know, it's all we looked at a criminal act. Like Kid was, I got a sweet people, he was a sweet teddy bear. But people looked at him because he barked. All dogs bark. But the bark name was messed up. You know, so that's how we're looking at it, you know. Everything is looked at the wrong way. Like I said, we should have white doctors there. Since, like I said before, and he have a resident temper and stuff, this should be already displayed. You know, they should have this program, so he should not be in a place where other people that's, you know, going right. I mean, that's not this problem. He should be with better help, you know. Like I say, more suicides are happening, and I've seen a lot of friends done for suicide and mental health things. It's because they're not control, you know. I don't got 2 minutes, so I'm left with friends. It hurts me just to see that we against each other. We're really against each other. You know, it's gonna be, you know, it's still with the fight. And once we get all together and start testing this time, the streets and people start getting back, you know, all right, once you go push them, you go push them, where they gonna go?
And I think you're the second or third gentleman who has talked about how important it is for us to figure out how to work together on this and that be us and come up with some solutions. I also think, Chris, if I understood what you're saying, we're trying to get out on the proactive front end of that. So like you're saying, treating somebody as a criminal, we're trying to get them to help before it gets to that. I'm sure sometimes it works a lot better. I certainly appreciate your comments. Any other comments from folks who are currently experiencing homelessness? I've got this lady here and the gentleman over there.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up something that I don't think anybody's mentioned yet, which is that it feels a little disingenuous to be throwing out all these resources and pointing out that this is how people access these things without mentioning that the city itself is getting in the way of people accessing these things by constantly sweeping them, right? How is somebody supposed to get to one of these places if they have no assurance that their shit is still going to be there when they get back? How are they supposed to go through the process if they're losing all their documents? How are they supposed to keep up with a caseworker if they're constantly getting moved around? This is not rhetorical either. Like, I have a friend who lost literally everything she owns, and then she tried to kill herself afterward because she lost literally everything she owned on the street. Like, it feels insane to be offering people these kinds of mental health resources and then causing mental health problems for them. And so my first question is, like, if this is the city's plan is to do this kind of outreach and provide these kind of resources, why is it getting in the way of that by constantly sweeping people? And then secondly, I'd like to address some things to what Ms. Pfister said, which is that it feels also disingenuous to be talking about, you know, the details and requirements of FEMA funding when the city is spending thousands of dollars 3 days a week, sending out dozens of employees from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, the Department of Public Health and Environment, to put people in cages and throw away their stuff and push them from block to block. Why can't that funding go to these things that would actually address these problems? Why can't those staff be put to cleaning these restrooms to do this outreach work?
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
We have a rule. Go out and walk. Why is this going to get the break for like stuff? We don't even heard nothing about none of it. Several nights, police ain't doing nothing. We police ourselves. We walk around and make our room and make sure we're safe, our people sleep. I don't buy anything. We feel in the daytime, we walk to sleep tonight, we check our community. I don't care what, I just use the Lord. You know what I'm saying? What can we do? We got women out here, our sisters, our mothers, our people. Let's get ready.
I think the safety issues come up several times. I think that's one we're going to need better answers for, and we're going to need to be revisited. I don't know, did you have your hand up, ma'am, or were you just pointing out that he's here? Okay.
There's one question that was put, I think that the person that has the questions maybe has this in the notes, but there was a question that came up repeatedly at the beginning that was regarding movement. When do we have to stop moving? And I haven't heard an answer from the city on that question.
The whole question of the sweeps and the moving and all of that has come up several times. Do I have somebody here that can or will speak with that? I know we're at 10 o'clock. I know I don't have a lot of time. I understand. I said, do we have anybody who can speak to that or will speak? Okay.
Dun, 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 dun,
I think that there's definitely an obvious tension here, right? British in her entire team are trying to do as much work as fast as they can to provide housing for people so that people do not have to live out on the streets. Until we get more solutions, more options that are acceptable to folks, the academic cleanups are going to continue.
One solution, stop the sweep.
Come and talk to us.
Okay.
That's one solution.
That's the best answer that I can get right now because.
Dun 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 dun.
We'll make these available to Denver Homeless Hotline. We'll also make this available to these sides so that they have the summary, they have a follow-up on that. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to be here. I really appreciate that. And I believe we'll be doing this again in probably another couple of months. And so thank you very much for coming. I appreciate that.
Peace, one love, and we
Thank
out.
all the unhoused folks who came out here. I know that it was really difficult, that you had to leave your shit, and that it was unsafe and uncertain whether your stuff would be there when you come back. And I'm really grateful for you being here. You leverage everything that you have for our community, and I love you. Love you.
And I would echo that. I would say thank you all for coming out. I really appreciate that. Both the city and the unhoused people. Thank you.
We'll go to lunch.
Can I scan that?
That's why we don't come to we don't get no Everybody
More recycling and composting in the city.
It's live.
Yes,
I'm out next week.
So,
I'm going to stay safe.
we're doing
I think their season event planners
What's happening? How are you? Real glad that you're on. Huh? All right. Park is pretty.
We'll get those last ones done there. People are pretty excited about it. You doing good? Yeah. Keep us outside.
We went last year. Or wait, you didn't come. I went. You'll have to come. I got like a thing.
I think it's nice to see you. Thanks. Take care, buddy. Hey, so where's Jason Gallardo? You still here? Take off.
I'm serious about it. I know you took I'm going to do Good, how are you?
Try our on-camera. And I'll see you on the form. You fill that out for
Some more of the conversations happening, folks. Thanks for being here. We're gonna kill the feed here, but thanks for being. Everybody's hanging out and talking, so we're gonna let that happen naturally. Talk to you later.